Hey, what's up? So I'm AY, founder of the Battery Tour. I do these renewable energy powered concerts. I've powered over 800 concerts using just renewable energy, and I use my music to fund, build, and send people access to energy around the world. And I'm so happy to be here right now with two, of the UN Secretary General Youth Advisors on Climate, Nisreen and Vlad. How you guys doing?
Fine, thank you. Very good morning for everyone watching us, and for who's joining online, good evening and good afternoon, according to the country you're joining us from.
Hello to everyone who is watching us online. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here with us. It's a pleasure.
Dude, so happy to have you guys here. Two incredible leaders. So I'm gonna jump right in. Nisreen, you've done so much. You were the organizer in 2019 on the Climate Youth Summit. I read somewhere that you hold like a degree in renewable energy and physics, which is incredible. So what I was thinking is just how do you think education or the lack thereof impedes or advances, progress in renewable energy for youth, How do you think?
So a lot of people around the world started their climate action through engaging into local communities, work and stuff like this. It was not the case for me. I started oppositely, where I actually were thinking how to link physics to policy. And then I discovered something called science diplomacy, which is using scientific facts in diplomatic discussions. And two biggest topics were actually climate change and water, because countries share waters, but also climate change is a very scientific problem that have a lot of political and diplomatic intention. So yeah, as a person and a woman of science, as I would like to say, I understand very much how important it is for education. And of course, if the person is not aware enough of the problem, it will be very hard to find a solution for it. So knowing things and being aware enough is always the first step to find a solution for the problem that we are actually having, including climate change, including access to energy. And of course, the big question is, we need development. We can't use fossil fuel. Then what is the replacement? And well, the answer was very clear, very adequate, but also very logical, which is renewable energy.
Heck yeah. Vlad, dude, and I agree with you, renewable energy is so essential. Tell me, man, just explain, why you think renewable energy is just so essential to combating climate change in general.
Well, first and foremost, let's look at the hard data. Transitioning to renewable energy leaves us at only 25%.
You can do it a little closer so we can hear
sorry.
you. Go ahead. Yeah.
So let's look at the hard data. Transitioning to renewable energy will lead us to remaining with only around 25% of our current level of emissions. So it's absolutely essential. Secondly, when it comes to promoting renewable energy, apart from its impact on emissions, it is of course impact on jobs, economic situation, and regional development. We have many regions and countries across the world, in Global South and Global North alike, where communities depend wholly on, in their livelihoods, on their employment in extractive industries. Yet at the same time, many of them have enough skills that are adjacent to those that are in demand in renewable energy and in the industries that will be powered by various forms of renewable energy. So it is extremely important to take the renewable energy promotion agenda seriously, because it cuts across many areas of industry and economy and social development as well.
And let me stick with you too on that note. So as Vlad, as renewable energy progresses, as this transition kind of happens, and you can answer this too as well, I really wanted to know, I read a little bit about how you kind of working with the Secretary General as this advisor, you kind of have this kind of niche base in green jobs, so how does this translate to green jobs for youth specifically as we advance Goal 7?
So in order for renewable energy agenda to succeed, in order for the industries that are dependent on renewable energy to succeed, they need not only good technological solutions that make sense. They need people who are qualified enough to facilitate this work and drive it through. But these people do not get out of nowhere. you need to educate them, you need to prepare them, you need to equip them for that. And it is extremely important to understand that green jobs, they do not come out of anywhere. You need specific educational policies co-created, not only in government, but with the youth, for the youth, with corporate actors, for us to be prepared for this world and for us to be able to actually contribute to it. Because we have a lot of desire to do that. We have experience of doing it in our communities. Some of us have also multilateral experience, but there is also a lot of desire to accumulate more concrete experience and do work with purpose, especially after the pandemic. And green jobs are the best work with purpose we can do. And green jobs is the thing that is the most in demand for renewable energy agenda to go further through.
I love that. I love that. Green jobs. Nisreen, question for you. So, I mean, you're what I call an OG, you know what I'm saying? Because you've been, you've been doing this since like 2012. You know, that's actually when I started doing the battery tour and these concerts and everything with renewable energy. So, like, tell me what you think. Like, it's been this is 10 years now of kind of pushing this agenda. What are you seeing? What are the changes? What do you think the next couple of years look like? How do you think youth can get more plugged in to climate change? What actions can they take? It would just be nice to know from your experience, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He's trying to gently say I'm old. Your experience, OG, 10 years.
OG, girl,
okay,
in the game.
I get it. Well, first of all, I'm so happy that I really spent this 10 years and I didn't feel it, to be honest. I mean, and when I'm counting, it was like, oh wow, when did this happen? I know all of you have the same feeling at some point, but I saw a lot of changes in these 10 years, and I'm very proud of the development and how much mature the climate action movement and the young people around the world are now comparing to 10 years. I remember in 2012 we were participating in an event about climate change, and everyone was looking at me like, she's coming from a country with 40 years of civil war. Why she cares about climate change?
Yeah, Sudan or you're Sudanese?
Yes, Sudan.
Yeah, exactly.
Sudan. And now everyone knows that exactly climate change causes these 40 years of civil war, for example, and how much climate change is impacting the development of the countries. If we have conflicts over natural resources, if we have lack of access to water, if we have lack of access to energy, if we get flooded every year, then how are we supposed to develop and have an infrastructure? If we don't have schools in the first place because the school got flooded, then how we expect people to get education? And of course, I'm so happy that we are here now. I feel it took so long. I mean, 10 years is a long time for people to realize the truth and the facts in front of them and to listen to science finally, but it's happening and it's a good sign. What needs more for young people to be plugged in? I think it's a negative and a positive thing. So now climate activists are treated as celebrities. Very soon we will have paparazzis around us. And this is good because we want to talk.
True.
I mean, we
want some of us do already. I mean, I was at COP26. I saw how it was crazy.
I know. we want people to talk about climate change. It's very good because then they realize the problem and they find solutions for that. But it doesn't mean to make it a media-focused thing. It's not a media-focused thing. It's a problem, solution-oriented thing. If we can't really sit, plan, strategize, and talk to other people in science, in fact, in results-oriented work, how can we actually make a difference? We will just be talking in a very big bubble of us with the media, with the rest of the climate activists, but then we will stuck there. We will not move forward.
Yeah, I call it preaching to the choir. And to deflect for a second, that's a good thought to harp on. I think you were at COP too. I saw you at COP26. What are you thinking about, like this kind of media frenzy around like climate, but it also feels like there's not enough action. Like, do you have any thoughts on like kind of what she was saying there?
Well, neither Nisreen nor you are the only ones feeling this way. I'm very much sharing this feeling, and I have to tell that we need to talk to media about how youth climate activism is in general covered. And I think the sensationalization of this climate activism, particularly climate activism that is done by young girls and young women, I think it requires a special attention because it puts on us, on many of them, an undue burden. And considering the meager resources that climate activists actually have with regards to maintaining and improving their mental health, this is not a good thing to have at all, especially considering how grueling the challenge of getting through a COP mentally is. And thus, not only focus on solutions and like technical capability is important, as Nisreen mentioned, but also on making sure that when we as youth are engaging in this field and in this work, we are putting on ourselves only the burdens that we actually own and we have committed to, not the burdens that others try to put on our shoulders.
I love that, when we in youth are engaging. So quick question, maybe last question. I mean, everyone asks us, you're like, well, what can the youth do? You know, like, well, if you're a young person in Moldova, because that's where you're from, right, what can they do? But seriously, though, at the end of the day, like, what can, you know, if you're a young person listening, what can they do?
I have several comments. So you were talking about my age, and Vlad was talking about feminist actions. Like, guys, I'm a minority here. I need some backup. But also a very funny fact that you were speaking about Moldova. Thank God I'm from a big country, so no one asks, where's Sudan? But Vlad gets asked this question a lot. Where's Moldova? We've heard of Maldives, but Moldova? And then he had to always open Google Map and show. And this fact showed us that we are very much behind, not only in solidarity, but at least knowing each other. I mean, it's very easy for everyone now to open Google Map and see the different countries of the world. You don't need to know the currency, the president, the election system, the very basic description of the map at least, because I can tell you this, maybe in a few years we will not have the same map, unfortunately, due to climate change and the rise of the sea level. And so whatever young people have to do, it can be very much educating themselves through self-learning, for example. Listening and hearing and reading about countries like Moldova that no one knows, and even no one knows what they are suffering from.
Exactly.
And I think Vlad suffered this a lot also when they see like a tall white man. Like they just put the stigma of white men there. But for me, I know that Eastern Europe, for example, have a lot of problems economically, access to power, and etc. So it's not the same in every country. Every countries have different needs and different accessibilities and different challenges regarding climate change. And at least reading about that is going to help. If you did not help yourself and building your own capacity, then it will be very hard to help others.
I always say that, self-discovery, use Google, that's how you take some action. Real quick, 30 seconds or so, brother, what
3 points.
Can they do?
Educate yourself. Second is help others educate themselves. And third, always try to go across your immediate borders of your immediate community to find allies and build these meaningful allyships and relationships with them.
Wonderful, man. Thank you guys so much, Vlad, Nisreen. Beautiful. We got some world changers now.